Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second show for this week, which is the Football Brisbane part of the Vilic Law SEQFC preview show. I'm Darren Lutton, and I've got three guests with me this evening. We've got Daniel Panisi, who stuck around after the Football Queensland show. Good evening, Daniel.
Evening. How are we all?
Good. Daniel is, of course, the first-team coach at Mitchelton FQPL team. We've got Nick Patterson, who is the coach at Ripley Valley. Good evening, Nick.
Evening.
Great to have you on board. And how many runs did you make today, Nick?
Yes, obviously a white shirt. Funny. Mighty Tottenham. Going well at the moment.
It's a Tottenham shirt. It looks, with the cap on, it looks like you've just played cricket for England or something like that. All right. We've also got Chris Nelson. Chris, you're at Moggle. You're a player, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm playing at the moment, and I just help out a little bit around the club, just social media and that sort of stuff, and just a little bit of communication. So yeah, but currently playing, and hopefully for a little while longer at least.
Which position do you play?
I'm in goal. I'm one of those crazy people that stands in and tries to ruin the game. Yeah.
Mate, I'm gonna start with you, Chris, seeing as you're the newbie to the team. Moggle last year had a pretty good year. I was pretty impressed with how it all went. You must be happy with how it all went. Yeah,
we were quite happy, especially considering the level of teams that were in the comp. You know that teams coming up from Cap 3, as well as teams dropping down from Cap 1, plus all the teams still sitting in the league, are going to be really good, and the quality is going to be good because everyone wants to make their way back up to the big leagues. So we knew that, and I think we covered the positions that we needed to. Ex-juniors coming back to the club, seeing the culture that we created. A lot of boys following through from under 18s and then making their first team debuts within the last year or two. And we're just a club that tries to reward juniors who follow through and that sort of stuff. So yeah, we were really pleased with our year, especially considering the quality that was in the league last year.
I know that you've been at the club for a while. How hard is it for people at Moggle to attract someone from outside that catchment area? It's got to be ridiculously tough, right? It's
look, it is, and we're not necessarily in a position where we have we can offer a huge amount of stuff towards players, but we do have a great culture, and I know that it's been to our home ground. We do have a very loud deck on a Saturday night, so we basically try and attract players who live in the Ipswich and Corunna Downs, that sort of stuff, and people who are keen to buy into our culture. Essentially, we try really hard to build a really strong partnership between our seniors and our juniors, because for a little while we've lost our talented juniors. So I guess we're trying to recoup a little bit of the talent that we've lost over the years, and it's good to see that guys who have played for our club, throughout juniors, who have gone away to bigger clubs, are now coming back because they see obviously what we're building. So yeah, it is tough overall, but it's a good challenge when you can, when you can still challenge for the league and against the really talented clubs, especially when we're in a position where we're in a little pocket of Western Brisbane. We must be doing something right.
For sure. And you look to have got off to a good start this season already. So good signs for you.
Yeah, hoping so. It'll be a big season. It's only just started, so yeah.
All right, I might just throw the next question over to Pato. Pato, let's talk about the rejigged league with a few teams from the Football Brisbane pyramid moving on to FQPL2 has meant that everyone's moved up, and we've got the other two competitions, the Cap 2 and Cap 3, now with very few teams in it, and now you've all moved up the ladder. You've gone from Cap League 4 to Cap 1 in what? Is that 3 seasons now?
I went Cap 3 to Cap 2 to Cap 1 this year. So gone up 2 leagues in 2 seasons. So it's a good move for us. Obviously, we've got ambition. There's a few other clubs that had suited quite nicely that have been able to move up the leagues a lot quicker than first thought, with sort of only one promotion spot last year available. So a couple of clubs that have shown ambition have gone up a little bit quicker, so that's good for them. On the flip side, I think you might see a few cricket scores across a couple of the leagues, a couple of clubs that have been shuffled up that might not be quite as ready. Wouldn't say that in our league as such. I think it's going to be a very competitive league in the Cat 1. You saw the BPL on the weekend. I think there was a 7-0 scoreline there. I think that might be a common factor this year. You might see that a little bit. And to be fair, I don't know too much about the Cap 2 and Cap 3 this year, who's signed and who hasn't signed. But usually in those leagues, you get the odd one-sided scoreline as well anyway throughout the season.
And Daniel, we find this every time that there's a reshuffle that all the teams get thrown up where they land, and we do get those cricket scores, don't we? And it takes a couple of years for things to settle down again and all the clubs to find their place.
Yeah, it's inevitable. There's been that much change over the last 7 or 8 years that like the first year of NPL, the bottom teams were getting hammered. Once the equilibrium and the balance is there, then you'll find that things will start, the cream will rise to the top, and ambitious clubs, i.e. like Willawong now, they were in the doldrums not long ago, and now they're fighting for, as one of the best teams in Brisbane.
So let's have a look at the BPL from the weekend. And the big result that Pato just mentioned there was Albany Creek, 7-0 winners over Brisbane Knights. Brisbane Knights were very worried about them at the moment and their squad. I'm hearing rumours of rumours that aren't very nice. Let's just leave it at that. But Albany Creek, second last year, I think I've fancied them to take back their crown over St. George this year. What are your thoughts, Daniel?
I think it's going to come down to last year. Toowong were pushing those two teams and had the ability to take points off. I don't know who else outside of those two teams is going to do it. There's no Grange. Toowong are still there, and Toowong have got a little bit of strength, but I think they've lost so many players to Southside Eagles that it's difficult to say. St. George have probably got a bit more grunt in them, but Albany Creek have got more depth and more gun players overall. So there's nothing between them. I think it will come down to how they go against each other, those two sides.
Yeah, that's my big concern with Toowong, with Claude Capelli moving over to Southside Eagles, taking a lot of the squad with him. Very hard to see a club like Toowong being able to be resilient enough to maintain their position as one of the best clubs in the comp.
Yeah, like I said to you earlier, I think that the top sides from Cap 2 would be stronger than. With all due respect to some of the BPL clubs, would be stronger and more ambitious than some of those clubs at the moment. So I think there will be an imbalance, but I just, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone who's going to challenge St. George and Albany Creek. It's if ever there was a two-horse race, it would be in this league.
So despite being down on Toowong, they had a 3-1 victory away at the Gap. Western Spirit had a 4-2 victory over UQFC. Mount Gravatt went down 2-1 to Bayside United. Bayside, they're a team that we haven't spoken about yet, but they did quite well last season and certainly could improve this year. The Lakes and Acacia Ridge had a 1-1 draw, and Saints and Centenary Stormers had their game washed out. Pato, from your position, do you take much notice of the BPL? You'd have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, keep a close eye on the BPL. Obviously, a year's at Tringa, so come up against all of those sides when coaching there. I'm with Daniel. I think it's a two-horse race. You look at the squads both of those have put together. I'm just looking through the team list of Albany Creek on the weekend, and their bench was phenomenal. So when you got a squad going that deep, it's going to be very hard to sort of toss the likes of them and St. George. So going through the other sides there, Trevor always puts a decent side together at Bayside. think they'll be up there this year. But I honestly can't see any of those other sort of sides matching it for 22 games throughout the season with those top two.
Yeah, the Lakes might be one who may surprise. They've got a few good guys that have come from the sunny coast. Couple that I know were trialling with us that have signed the Lakes, and one boy from NPL New South Wales who is extremely good quality, too good for BPL as well. So the Lakes could be one. They were unlucky against Acacia Ridge, but again, there's daylight between Albany Creek and St George, and then the rest, I think.
Yeah, Daniel Fogarty's that player that is talking about there. Daniel, I watched him play. Oh, what was it? Was it a cup game? I think it was a cup game against a Gold Coast club.
Burley.
Oh, it was Burley. That's right, of course. And oh boy, did he tear it up! He absolutely tore them to shreds, and he's just got so much pace. He took the mickey about 3/4 of the way through the game, just before Burley staged their comeback, which almost bit him on the where. But he ended up scoring from a corner to get them back in front. So he is certainly a player to watch in this competition. What about you, Chris? Do you take much notice of the BPL?
I actually do. I have quite a few, good mates who play in the BPL. A few boys who used to play with us at Moggle a few years ago have moved on to Toowong and Centenary as well. Centenary, I'm not going to lie, they semi-surprised me last year after only just scraping through 2 years ago, scraping through and not getting relegated. And they seemed to be pretty solid last year with a few additions. So I do pay attention to it, probably not as close as I guess our own league, but I definitely know it should be interesting to watch Toowong and how they rebuild with the loss of Claude, as well as a few of their talented goal scorers that have sort of moved on to other pastures. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how Toowong bounce back. But yeah, Ace have been quality for quite a few years, and I just, with the depth, I agree with Pato. I just can't see too many other squads challenging them too often.
Definitely. All right, so Albany Creek are away at Acacia Ridge this weekend. Acacia Ridge have built up quite nicely over the past few years and sort of cemented their place in the BPL. Got Brisbane Knights hosting Western Spirit, UQFC host the Gap, Swan playing the Stormers, Bayside United against the Lakes. That's my game of the weekend, I think, and St George Willawong up against Mount Gravatt. What do you think there, Chris? Anything stick out at you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Darren. I think that the game between Acacia Ridge and Acacia Ridge Ace, I think will be interesting. Just depends. I guess Acacia Ridge put a bit of a challenge towards the Lakes, and I think with the signing of Fogarty and they've also got Josh Fern, who was on fire last year. I think that'll be a really interesting matchup. But yeah, Acacia Ridge, they actually stuck it to the Lakes quite interesting on the weekend. So I think that game against Ace will be interesting to see if Ace is the real deal, I think. But yeah, as you said, Lakes Bayside will be a really interesting game. And St George haven't played yet, so we'll see what they've got up their sleeve, considering obviously their coach. They've had to change coach over the break from what I've seen. So that'll be an interesting round, I think.
All right, let's have a quick look now at the Village Law Capital League 1. Moggle, you had a 2-1 victory over Annerley. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was. We've been traveling quite well. We had quite a few boys out injured after our pre-season against Slacks. We actually we won that quite comfortably, but we seemed to get in the middle of pretty interesting tackles every now and then. So yeah, we had a few boys out, but we went 1-0 down at probably about 70 minutes, and then sort of woke us up a little bit, and we went and scored 2 in 5 minutes, and then was reasonably comfortable from then. But I think we will. Cap 2 last year was very interesting. It was a really skillful league. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was as physical as what Cap 1 was the year before. But having played Annalee, I think we know what we're going to get with a few teams in Cap 1 this year. It's going to be very physical for our squad. We're a relatively young squad, a lot of skill, but very young and not always used to the physicality of Cap 1 or Capital League football. So some of our players have come from FQ, PL setups and that sort of stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see how Annalee go this year. They put up a fight for, as I say, 70-odd minutes, and they were pretty solid at the back. So, yeah, but it was good to get 3 points start with the win, so that's good.
We've just had word come in that the match was played tonight between Slacks Creek and Pine Hills, and that was a 2-2 draw.
Mm.
All right, Pato, let's flip it over to you now with Ripley having a 4-1 win over New Farm. New Farm were in all sorts last year. Have they been able to stabilise things for this year?
Yeah, they were handy enough. We didn't help ourselves first half on the weekend. One of our worst performances we put together so far, sort of pre-season and obviously round one. So very disappointing at half time, but we showed what we're about second half and stuck it to them second half, which was nice. But you look through this league, I don't think there's going to be any easy games. Everyone's got a sort of a case that they can be thereabouts this season, and that result just coming through tonight, Stakes claim. A lot of people have tipped Slacks Creek to be one of the sides down the bottom end, but they've put it to one of the favourites in Pine Hills tonight. So with a man down too, I think they got the equaliser. So I've been told they went down to 10 men, and Pine Hills went up 2-1, and then they scored in the 95th, I believe, to equalise with a man down. So points dropped for both sides. You could look at it that way, I suppose. So yeah, good for everyone else in the league.
And the upset of the weekend, you'd have to say, was Newmarket over Carina.
Yeah, I spoke to someone from Carina after the game, and not taking anything away from Newmarket, but I believe the shot ratio for Carina was a lot higher than Newmarket's, and they just weren't able to capitalise on it. So they definitely see it as points drop, but I'm sure someone from Newmarket would tell you a different story. So.
And in the other result from the weekend, North Pine had a 2-1 victory over Logan Metro. Good to see the Gorillas getting some points early in the season. All right, let's have a quick look at round two. So we've got Pine Hills up against Logan Metro, Moral up against Ipswich City, who had the bye last weekend, Carina playing Slacks Creek, Ripley Valley against Annalee, North Pine up against New Farm with Newmarket with the bye. Guys, which match is the standout for you there?
Can't go past that first one, can you? The Pine Hills, Logan Metro, they had some good battles last year. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game. Yeah, Pine Hills are confident. Despite tonight, I think Pine Hills have probably got enough in the kitty to get over. But is it at Pine Hills or at Compton Park?
It's at Pine Hills.
James Drysdale.
I think they'll be pretty fired up for their home game and get over the line. But there's never been much between those two sides. I think last year was pretty tight.
Yeah, Pato, you've had a great rivalry with Metro as well, yeah?
We have. We've only beaten them once, and that was the GF in our first year, inaugural season. So, yeah, it'd be a cracker of a game. Both teams failing to get maximum points first round. So, I'm sure neither of them will want to drop more points again this weekend. So, it should be an absolute ripper up there, I reckon.
Mm.
And Chris, how much research have you guys put into your game against Ipswich?
Well, we don't really look too much into it. I think for us it's more about, and most people will say this, but I think for us it's more about the way we play. We know that after the FA Cup game, we got a little bit of a target on our backs. Like no one was expecting us to do Caboolture with the depth they have, and I think when people see our side, when we're not very tall and we're not big guys. So I think we don't look too much into it. I just think that, if we play our game, we've done half the job, and it's just more about, if we're there in the moment. So we're not too worried. We know 6 teams in the league this year. Not many teams will have changed that much. We played City 2 years ago, so we always know what they're about. Again, it's a Western Suburbs derby, so it's always going to be a bit fiery. But I think a lot of guys thrive on that rivalry, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, hopefully it'll be a good result.
It's the Moggle Ferry Derby, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Someone keeps suggesting that we should build the bridge, but I don't know about that. Might lose some players to them.
Hopefully a really physical game. So we got Bulls next week. So if you batter and bruise a few of them, I wouldn't be too disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, you can always you hear things. You hear things from lots of different people about lots of different clubs, but until you face them, you never really know. So, yeah, we're not buying too much into it's been very quiet from a few teams this year, so we're not really buying into that at all. We're just trying to focus on our job, I guess, and probably it's the same for Pato, I guess, and probably Daniel with Mitchie too. If you focus on what you're doing, I think that's the most important thing.
Yep. The only thing you can control.
All right, let's very quickly have a look at the FFA Cup draw, which was done this evening, and we'll look at it from a Football Brisbane point of view. North Pine got an interesting tie at home against Logan Lightning. Albany Creek taking on Gold Coast United. I think that's going to be a fascinating match. Chris, you got a game against Ipswich Knights. So another game where it's just you got to build a bridge, right? Got to build a bridge.
Do we? It'll be interesting. Yeah, the Bridge Derby. That I can say that a lot of our boys. The irony is that a lot of our guys have sort of, when in their juniors, played at Moggle and then moved on to Knights, and have now sort of have made their way back. Not a huge amount, but a few guys. So, and I know one of our players, his younger brother actually plays at Knights. So it's it'll be blood versus blood, club versus club. So. It should be interesting, and it's just very ironic that we've sort of drawn we've got 2 Ipswich teams in the next, few weeks. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Logan Metro got the big game against Lions FC. New Farm hosting Peninsula Power. That should be a close one.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing if there's any other. Oh, Ripley up against the Strikers. Pato. Well, yeah. I think you saw some comments earlier tonight when that one came out. The men against boys.
Yeah, that lit up the pages, didn't it, on Facebook? So another game for us. We get to do what we do and take it in our stride, I suppose.
And from a personal point of view,
play night games there.
We do, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And from a personal point of view, you get to cross swords with Cozzy.
Yeah, I actually mentioned that to my assistant a bit earlier. Added to the resume. You've got the coach against Cozzy. Fantastic. A-League coach, Australian footballer. That's why we do it. We do it for the love of it, but you can cross paths with people like that. It's it's exciting.
You betcha. The Lakes drew a home tie against Holland Park. There could be a potential upset there. Centenary Stormers got this away at the Sunny Coast Fire. Bayside United against Easts, St George against Breena. Any other interesting ones there? Mount Gravatt Hawks against Acacia Ridge, and Pine Hills up against Caloundra FC. We might leave it there, guys. Of course, with Capital League 2 and Capital League 3 kicking off in second week in April. So it's just these first 2 leagues for the moment. Guys, your pre-season, how was it this year?
Nice to have one. Obviously, come back from COVID last year and it was thrown straight back into the deep end. So, getting boys back on the park in better shape's been a massive thing this year. So, it was great to have. It was a solid pre-season and business as usual, I suppose.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Pato or Daniel, but we had maybe 2 weeks off So, we finished up and our coaching staff were really keen to just sort of keep us ticking over. So we didn't have a huge amount of time off. We sort of just kept the ball rolling a little bit. We found that COVID break last year really hurt our fitness, and we worked really hard to make sure that, if we weren't going to beat teams on skill, we were going to beat them on fitness. So it's really good to have a preseason where we can play, some teams in our league, some teams below, and then obviously played some teams above already. So I'm very thankful for a full preseason. I think everyone is, to be honest.
For sure. All right, guys, we might leave it there. Thank you so much for your attendance this evening and participating in the show. Chris, a great debut from you, mate.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. Pato, as per usual, all class.
Thanks, mate. All the best on the weekend, guys.
Thanks, you too.
And Daniel, great to have you on board for the Football Brisbane show.
Been a pleasure. All the best, gentlemen.
All right, guys. Now, everyone out there, if we said something nasty against your team, it's simple. Just prove us wrong. Just prove us wrong. There's one place to settle the score is on the field getting results. So this has been the Village Law SEQFC preview show. We will see you next week.